I was just settling into my hotel room, ready for a quiet evening, when a deafening fire alarm ripped through the silence, turning my night into a chaotic showdown. The Columbus Grand Hotel in Columbus, Ohio buzzed with life at 7:00 p.m. on this bustling Friday evening. The lobby below thrummed with the chatter of arriving guests, their suitcases rolling over polished marble floors. Elevators dinged, carrying travelers to their rooms, while security cameras quietly blinked in the hallways, capturing the rhythm of a busy night. My room, 402, sat high enough to offer a glimpse of the city's skyline, its twinkling lights a welcome sight after a grueling day. I'm John, a 55-year-old accountant, here for a business trip filled with endless meetings. My bones ached from hours of sitting in conference rooms, and all I wanted was to kick off my shoes, loosen my tie, and sink into the plush armchair by the window. Order and respect are my anchors. I don't ask for much, just a moment's peace and maybe a decent burger from room service. My phone and wallet, essentials I never leave behind, rested on the nightstand as I unzipped my suitcase, carefully folding my shirts into the dresser. Somewhere down the hall in room 305, Karen Mitchell paced. At 45, she cut a striking figure in her flashy blazer, her designer purse slung over one shoulder like a badge of importance. Her sharp voice had already echoed through the front desk earlier, demanding an upgrade because her room lacked a view. Karen wasn't the type to wait. She expected the world to bend to her schedule, her impatience simmering like a storm ready to break. I just pulled out my laptop, thinking about catching up on emails, when the fire alarm exploded through the walls. The shrill, relentless wail jolted me upright, my heart thudding. For a split second I froze, half expecting it to stop. A glitch maybe. But it didn't. Grabbing my phone and wallet, I shoved them into my pockets and headed for the door, my shoes barely laced. The hallway was already filling with guests, their faces a mix of confusion and irritation. A young couple clutched their toddler, who wailed louder than the alarm. An older man in a bathrobe muttered about "damn kids" as he shuffled toward the stairwell. "Exit calmly, folks," a hotel staffer called, her voice strained but professional as she waved us toward the emergency stairs. The stairwell smelled faintly of concrete and cleaning solution, its fluorescent lights casting stark shadows. My knees protested with each step down 4 flights, but I kept pace with the crowd, their murmurs growing louder. "Is there really a fire?" someone asked. "Probably a prank," another scoffed. I stayed quiet, clutching the railing, my mind racing through worst-case scenarios. We spilled into the parking lot, a sea of displaced guests under the orange glow of streetlights. The Columbus skyline loomed in the distance, indifferent to our chaos. Staff in navy vests darted between groups, offering bottled water and apologies, their walkie-talkies crackling with updates. I scanned the crowd, noting the mix of pajama-clad families, business travelers like me, and a few locals who'd been at the hotel bar. The alarm still blared from the building, its echo bouncing off the pavement. A murmur rippled through the crowd, sharp and curious. "Heard it was no accident," a woman in a hoodie whispered to her friend, her voice low but clear. "Someone pulled the alarm on purpose." My ears pricked up, but before I could catch more, a staffer ushered us farther from the entrance, promising answers soon. I tucked my hands into my pockets, my fingers brushing my phone. Part of me wanted to check for news, but I resisted. Better to stay present, to watch and listen. "Hey everyone, let me know where you're watching this from and what time it is there!" The air held a crisp October chill and I zipped up my jacket, my eyes drifting back to the hotel. The Columbus Grand wasn't fancy, but it had a warmth to it, the kind of place where staff smiled genuinely and the coffee wasn't half bad. Now its orderly charm was shattered, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a random mishap. Someone had done this, and as the crowd's whispers grew, I knew the truth was close. "Room 305, someone had said. I filed that away, my accountant's instinct for details kicking in. Whatever had happened, this night was far from over. The parking lot was a mess, but a whisper about room 305 caught my ear. The Columbus Grand Hotel's parking lot had become a chaotic stage by 7:10 p.m., the fire alarm's wail still faintly audible from the building behind us. Guests huddled in clusters, their breath visible in the chilly October air. Some wore bathrobes, their hair still damp from interrupted showers. Others, like me, stood in rumpled business attire, clutching phones or purses. A family nearby tried to soothe their 2 kids, the younger one clinging to her dad's leg wide-eyed. The asphalt glistened under the streetlights, reflecting the restless energy of a crowd robbed of their evening plans. I shoved my hands deeper into my pockets, my phone and wallet a reassuring weight. The staff, still in their navy vests, scrambled to keep order, but their forced smiles couldn't hide their stress. One of them, a young woman with a name tag reading Lisa, handed out water bottles, her ponytail bouncing as she darted between groups. "We'll have answers soon," she kept saying, though her tight voice suggested she wasn't so sure. I spotted an elderly woman struggling to stand in the crowd, her thin frame swaying slightly. "Here, ma'am, let's find you a seat," I said, offering my arm. She introduced herself as Mrs. Carter, her voice soft but grateful as I guided her to a nearby bench. "Thank you, dear," she said, adjusting her scarf. Helping her settled my nerves a bit, but the crowd's grumbling kept me on edge. "Missed my dinner reservation," a man in a suit muttered. "Who's paying for this?" A woman in slippers snapped, waving her phone like a weapon. Then I overheard Lisa, the bellhop, talking to a coworker near a lamppost. "Room 305, she said under her breath, glancing around. "Some guest pulled the alarm because their room service took too long." "Can you believe it?" Her coworker shook his head, muttering something about entitled jerks. My jaw tightened. Room 305, the same room I'd heard whispered about in the stairwell. The crowd's chatter grew sharper, fragments of disbelief floating around me. "Who does that over food?" A guy in a hoodie scoffed, his girlfriend nodding. "Bet they're hiding now," she added. I wasn't just annoyed, I was curious. Whoever did this had turned a busy hotel into a circus, and for what? A late sandwich. I scanned the parking lot, half expecting to spot someone slinking away, but all I saw were frustrated faces and flashing phone screens. My accountant's brain kicked in, piecing together the timeline. The alarm hit at 700, we'd evacuated by 7:05, and now 10 minutes later the truth was starting to leak. I stayed close to Mrs. Carter, keeping my ears open for more. At 7:20 p.m., the fire department rolled in, their red trucks cutting through the dusk with a low siren. A firefighter in heavy gear addressed the crowd through a megaphone. "False alarm, folks. No fire, no danger. We're clearing the building now." A collective groan mixed with relief swept through the crowd. Lisa and the other staff started herding us toward the entrance, promising we'd be back inside soon. Mrs. Carter stood with my help, her hand shaky but firm on my arm. "Some people have no sense," she murmured, and I nodded, my mind still on room 305. The security cameras above the hotel's entrance blinked steadily, and I wondered what they'd caught. Whoever pulled that alarm wasn't just reckless. They were bold, assuming they could slip away unnoticed. My irritation flared, but so did my resolve. This wasn't just a disruption, it was a stunt that endangered everyone, from kids to folks like Mrs. Carter. I slipped my phone out, checking the time, and decided to keep my eyes peeled when we got back inside. Something told me the story of room 305 was far from over. As we re-entered, I spotted a woman at the front desk, and her voice was unmistakable. Karen's rant at the desk revealed the truth, and it was worse than I thought. By 7:30 p.m., the Columbus Grand Hotel's lobby was a swirl of restless energy as guests trickled back inside, their footsteps echoing on the marble floor. The fire alarm's echo had faded, but the tension lingered, sharp as the October chill clinging to my jacket. I lingered near the concierge desk, my phone and wallet still tucked in my pockets, watching the scene unfold. The security cameras above the check-in counter blinked silently, their lenses no doubt holding the key to the chaos we'd just endured. At the front desk, a woman in a flashy blazer, its gold buttons catching the light, stood berating the manager. Her designer purse hung from her elbow, swaying as she gestured wildly. Her voice, loud and cutting, carried across the lobby. 45 minutes for a salad. Unacceptable! I had to do something to get your attention. My stomach twisted as I recognized her description from the whispers. Room 305. This was Karen Mitchell, the guest who'd turned our evening upside down. I edged closer, blending into a small crowd of guests who'd paused to watch. Karen's blazer was slightly askew, her perfectly styled hair fraying at the edges, but her entitlement was on full display. "I deserve better service," she snapped, jabbing a manicured finger at the manager, a middle-aged man with a name tag reading, Mr. Thompson. His face remained calm, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of exasperation. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "pulling the fire alarm is not only against hotel policy but also a violation of Ohio law. False alarms carry serious consequences." Karen scoffed, tossing her head. "Consequences? For making a point. You should be thanking me for exposing your staff's incompetence." I felt my jaw clench. She wasn't just admitting it, she was proud of it. Her audacity was staggering, like she'd expected applause for endangering a hotel full of people. I glanced around, catching the stunned expressions of other guests. Mrs. Carter, the elderly woman I'd helped outside, stood nearby, her lips pursed in disapproval. She clutched her scarf, whispering to a younger woman beside her, who was already filming Karen's outburst on her phone. I stayed put, my accountant's instinct for details kicking in. Karen's rant was a goldmine of evidence. She'd admitted to pulling the alarm, cited a 45-minute room service delay, and showed zero remorse. Mr. Thompson, still composed, leaned forward. Ms. Mitchell, our records show your order was placed at 6:40 p.m., and staff were addressing it when the alarm was triggered at 7:00 p.m. You gave them no time to deliver. Karen's eyes narrowed, but she didn't back down. I want a full refund, she demanded, or an apology, or I'll sue this dump for emotional distress. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mix of outrage and amusement. She's unreal, a man in a hoodie muttered, shaking his head. Bet that video's going viral, his friend replied, nodding at the woman filming. Mrs. Carter caught my eye, her expression a silent agreement. This woman was out of line. I felt a surge of disgust, not just at Karen's stunt but at her complete disregard for the staff, the guests, the kids who'd been scared in the parking lot. My fingers brushed my phone, tempted to record too, but I held back. The cameras above us were already watching, and Karen's own words were digging her grave. Mr. Thompson's voice stayed firm. We'll be reviewing security footage, Ms. Mitchell, and cooperating fully with authorities. False alarms are a misdemeanor under Ohio law, with fines and potential jail time. Karen's face twitched, a crack in her bravado, but she quickly recovered, huffing and crossing her arms. Do what you want, she said, but I'm not staying in this wrathhole another night. The lobby felt smaller, the air thick with the weight of her words. I couldn't believe she thought she'd walk away unscathed. The staff deserved better, and so did every guest she'd dragged into this mess. My pulse quickened, a mix of anger and resolve. Someone had to say something, and as Karen turned to storm off, her purse swinging, I knew I couldn't stay silent. Someone had to call her out. When I spoke up, Karen's smugness turned to panic. The Columbus Grand Hotel's lobby pulsed with tension at 7:40 p.m., the marble floor reflecting the glow of chandeliers and the unyielding stare of security cameras overhead. Karen Mitchell, her flashy blazer now slightly wrinkled, stood at the front desk, her designer purse clutched tightly as she sneered at Mr. Thompson, the manager. Her rant about room service and her brazen admission to pulling the fire alarm still hung in the air, fueling the crowd's murmurs. I couldn't stand by any longer. My phone and wallet weighed heavy in my pockets, grounding me as I stepped forward, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Excuse me, I said, addressing Karen directly as I approached the desk. Heads turned, and the lobby's chatter quieted. I'm John, a guest here. Your actions didn't just inconvenience people, they endangered lives. Kids were scared, elderly guests were stuck in stairwells, and you think a late salad justifies that. I pointed toward the hallway, where a fire alarm pull station was visible, its red casing marked with a clear warning. False alarms punishable by law. That label's there for a reason. Karen's eyes widened, her smugness faltering for a split second before she doubled down. Who are you, some nosy nobody? She snapped, her purse swinging as she jabbed a finger at me. I deserved better service, and this hotel needed a wake-up call. Mind your own business. Her voice was shrill, but I caught a tremor in it, a hint of panic beneath the bravado. The crowd shifted, phones still recording, their whispers turning to audible scoffs. Mrs. Carter, near the concierge desk, nodded at me, her expression urging me on. I kept my tone calm, refusing to match her venom. This isn't about service, it's about responsibility. You disrupted an entire hotel, wasted firefighters' time and scared people. That's not a wake-up call. That's reckless. My words landed hard and Karen's face flushed, her lips parting as if to retort, but Mr. Thompson stepped in, his voice cutting through like a blade. Ms. Mitchell, he said, his calm demeanor unshaken, or security footage clearly shows you pulling the alarm at 7:00 p.m. This violates Ohio Revised Code 291711, disordered act, a misdemeanor with up to a $500 fine or 30 days in jail. The hotel is pressing charges. He gestured toward the cameras above, their red lights blinking steadily. The evidence is undeniable, and we've already contacted the authorities. Karen's purse slipped slightly in her grip, her bravado crumbling. Charges? For this? You can't be serious, she sputtered, her eyes darting to the crowd, seeking allies but finding only disapproval. The woman filming earlier zoomed in, and a man in a hoodie muttered, "She's done for." I felt a surge of satisfaction. Not vindictive, but righteous. Karen had gambled on her entitlement shielding her. At 7:45 p.m. the lobby doors swung open, and 2 police officers strode in, their radios crackling. Mr. Thompson greeted them, handing over a USB drive, likely the security footage. The officers, one a stern woman with a notepad, approached Karen. "Mom, we've reviewed the evidence," the woman said. "You're under arrest for disorderly conduct." Before Karen could protest, the second officer stepped forward, cuffs in hand. "Hands behind your back, please." Karen's defiance collapsed into a frantic wail.
"This is outrageous!"
"I'm a paying guest," she shrieked as the cuffs clicked shut. Her purse fell to the floor, and Lisa, the bellhop I'd seen earlier, quickly retrieved it, securing it behind the desk with a nod from Mr. Thompson. The crowd watched, some filming, others whispering, as the officers led Karen toward the exit. Her blazer caught the light one last time as she disappeared through the doors, still protesting. The lobby exhaled, the tension breaking into a hum of chatter. Mr. Thompson turned to the crowd, his voice steady. "Thank you for your patience, everyone. We're deeply sorry for the disruption." I caught his eye and nodded, a silent acknowledgement. My pulse was still racing, but I felt lighter, like I'd done something that mattered. Karen's arrest was just the start. Her actions had bigger consequences. Karen's stunt didn't just disrupt the hotel, it lit up the internet. Days after the chaos at the Columbus Grand Hotel, the lobby incident had taken on a life of its own. By Monday morning, Mrs. Carter's video of Karen Mitchell's front desk outburst had exploded across X, racking up thousands of views under hashtags like #FayHotelKaren and #FayFireAlarmFiasco. The clip, shaky but clear, captured Karen's flashy blazer, her designer purse hitting the floor, and her unapologetic admission to pulling the fire alarm over a 45-minute room service delay. Local news picked up the story, with a Columbus station interviewing Mr. Thompson, the hotel manager who stood in the same marble-floored lobby, security cameras blinking behind him. "We prioritize guest safety," he said. "Hard actions like this undermine everyone's well-being." Posts on Reddit's ARV entitled "People Dissected Every Detail," with users dubbing Karen, "Alarm Karen." The community's response was swift and heartfelt. Guests who'd been evacuated that Friday night returned to the hotel's Brew Haven Cafe, leaving generous tips and handwritten notes for the staff. "You handled a nightmare with grace," one note read, tucked under a $20 bill. A local bakery donated pastries for an employee appreciation event, and a Support Our Hotel Workers fundraiser sprang up, organized by Columbus residents moved by the staff's professionalism. The hotel's X account posted a photo of Lisa, the bellhop, smiling beside a tray of donated muffins, captioned, "Thank you for standing with us." I checked my phone often, scrolling through the updates, my wallet still in my pocket as a reminder of that chaotic night. Karen, meanwhile, faced a firestorm of her own making. Identified as a local event planner, her professional life unraveled. Clients canceled contracts citing her reckless behavior as a liability. Her ex-posts, where she tried to defend herself, claiming the hotel pushed her to act by ignoring her order, were met with relentless mockery. "Pulling a fire alarm for a salad." Iconic, one reply quipped, earning thousands of likes. The nickname, Alarm Karen, stuck, trending locally and leaving her family humiliated as neighbors whispered about the scandal. Karen's purse, secured by Lisa that night, was returned to a relative through the police, but her reputation was beyond salvage. Legally, Karen's troubles deepened. Her misdemeanor charge for disorderly conduct under Ohio Revised Code in 21711 carried a potential $500 fine and up to 30 days in jail, though rumors on X suggested she might face community service too. The Columbus Grand banned her for life, updating their guest policy to highlight zero tolerance for such stunts. Mr. Thompson confirmed the ban in a follow-up news segment, standing near the same front desk where Karen's meltdown had unfolded. The security footage, now in police hands, was the nail in her coffin, showing her pulling the alarm with no hesitation. The hotel itself became a symbol of resilience. Guests shared stories on X about the staff's kindness during the evacuation, Lisa handing out water, Mr. Thompson calming the crowd. I felt a quiet pride, remembering my small role in calling Karen out. I'd used my phone to check X that night, standing in the lobby after her arrest, and now those same platforms were amplifying justice. The community's support wasn't just a feel-good moment, it was a reminder of what happens when people rally against entitlement. Karen's shame was spreading, but justice was about to seal her fate. Karen's reckless act taught her a lesson, and reminded us all to value patience. Weeks after the fire alarm fiasco at the Columbus Grand Hotel, the dust had settled, but the story's impact lingered. In a Columbus courtroom, Karen Mitchell faced the consequences of her actions, pleading guilty to disorderly conduct under Ohio Revised Code of 2917 Lemon. She was sentenced to a $500 fine and 50 hours of community service at a local homeless shelter, a fitting irony for someone who'd disrupted so many lives over a delayed salad. The judge's ruling was firm. Her stunt endangered guests and wasted public resources. The Columbus Grand Hotel chain banned her for life, a decision announced on their X account with a photo of the lobby where it all went down, security cameras still blinking in the background. Karen's designer purse, long since returned to her family, was a distant memory, but her nickname, Alarm Karen, lived on in local lore. The hotel, meanwhile, emerged stronger. Mr. Thompson and his team implemented new staff training on handling entitled guests, ensuring they could diffuse tensions before they escalated. Respect our staff. Sign now hung prominently behind the front desk, its bold letters a quiet rebuke to Karen's outburst. The community's support continued to pour in. Guests left glowing reviews on X, praising Lisa's warmth and Mr. Thompson's steady leadership during the chaos. The Support Our Hotel Workers fundraiser, sparked in the aftermath, raised enough to fund staff bonuses, a gesture that brought smiles to the Brewhaven Cafe. I found myself back at the hotel for another business trip, my phone and wallet in my pockets as always. Moved by the staff's resilience, I slipped an extra $20 tip to the room service worker who brought my burger, a small nod to their professionalism. The story's deeper lesson hit home for me, and it resonated across X, where if Hotel Karen posts still circulated. Karen's entitlement had cost her dearly: her career, her reputation, and her freedom to ever step foot in the Columbus Grand again. It was a stark reminder that patience and respect aren't just courtesies, they're the glue that holds communities together. Service workers from bellhops to managers deserve better than tantrums and stunts. Her actions, captured by those unblinking security cameras, showed how quickly selfishness can unravel into costly consequences, while the hotel's response proved the power of fairness and unity. Love this story of justice and respect? Hit that like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to ring the bell for more inspiring tales. As I stood in the lobby one last time, the marble floor gleaming under the chandeliers, I thought back to that chaotic Friday night. The Columbus Grand had weathered Karen's storm, its staff and guests emerging with a renewed sense of resolve. In a hotel where every guest deserves peace, one Karen's outburst only strengthened our commitment to community. Her lesson was clear, and ours was too. Respect the people who keep the world running, and never underestimate the ripple effect of a single reckless act.